Hi everyone! So today I'd like to share some prompts on getting started doing some abstract mixed media paintings. Please consider liking and subscribing to my channel because it really does help the channel grow and I really do appreciate it so much. So let's hop inside and get started. I don't share a lot of my abstract work, but I do quite a bit of it for loosening up, for working in a more intuitive way. I do share quite a bit with my students, and how I normally start is that I gather a bunch of collage materials like I have here. A lot of these are old paintings and sketches, some jelly prints, and I like to start by tearing up a fair amount into collage bits. Now, this is not the only way to start an abstract painting by any means. But I'm going to show you two ways that I start an abstract painting with collage. And here I'm using some old jelly prints, and I do love to tear my collage. Now, you don't have to tear your collage. You can use scissors or anything else. I like to tear because I love the organic edge, and I do like the randomness of the pieces that I get. This is a jelly roll-off. I call it a roll-off. It's just where I clean my roller on another piece of paper. And I really tend to like those because they have a very interesting look to them. And I do like using them in other art projects, so I save those. Some people would just throw them out. I like the idea of using, recyclable materials in an art project. Some of these gel prints are, I love jelly, but I go in spurts with it. I can do it and do it and do it and then not touch it for a year. So I have piles of these gel prints, and a lot of times I like to use gold in them. Some of the other things I have are from vintage magazines or bits of interesting paper from vintage books and things like that I've saved, or rice papers or things like that. So I might mix some of that stuff in. But I like to use a lot of my own, papers that I've made, old paintings. Sometimes I save my palette paper because I find that really interesting, or I will just paint off my extra paint onto a piece of paper. So then what I really love is to just randomly explore setting down the collage bits onto my paper. And some of the pieces are really textural, like this old painting is on a very thick piece, so I'm using a little extra medium on that one. And that's one of the things about using collage, is that it gives you a new way to really explore composition in a way that's different than when we're painting, because we're able to add and take away and, put down and remove in an easier kind of fashion than when we're just working with paint. So the collage will go down. You can lift it right back up if you want to move it or find a different place for it. So it gives you a real opportunity to see how things look next to each other before you commit to it. And even if you have put it down, you can very often just lift it back up and move it. So I'm kind of going around. I have a little squeegee, and that just kind of helps push things down onto the paper so we don't get air bubbles. When we're doing an abstract, I like to keep turning the paper to make sure it works in every direction. When we're using thinner pieces of paper like the rice paper, we can start layering and things will pop through, which I really like, the effect of that. Also, nothing is set in stone because you're going to be painting over some of this later. So this is just the first layer, a layer of paint, a layer of paper, and so I'm just going around, and I keep flipping it because I want to see how everything relates. And, I'm using some of my drawings, I'm using some of my prints, I'm using some other papers, vintage papers, and everything has a different texture and a different shape. And the colors are all kind of a little bit different, but everything will start to make sense the more we put down and the more we look at it, and it will all become related. And that's what I love about collage. The other thing I really love about collage is it kind of frees you from the pressure of perfection. It's all about being in the moment when you're working this way and using imperfect materials and just about exploration and expression. And sometimes I do like a timed activity when I do these. Other times I'm just letting go of the end result and just allowing myself to explore the activity and not really worry about that end result and just immersing myself in the process. And that's, a real way to engage in a mindfulness activity. And so we know that art can be mindful, and if you really let yourself just play and allow yourself to explore the process of art making, you can get into that state of mindfulness. And as I began to build this piece up, I started to use more and more of related pieces of jelly prints to pull it together, and it began to make a lot more sense. And I used the darker valued pieces of the black and white graphic painting to anchor the piece, because those dark values really kind of held the piece together, and the lighter, brighter printed pieces came in and gave it areas of color and light. And so it really started to come together. And that's only like midway through, and we haven't added any additional paint or painting yet. And so it was really kind of a fun process as it started to evolve. So as you begin to work this way, if you leave that whole planning stage open and you're not really doing any planning and you're just letting things evolve organically, and things will evolve intuitively, just following your gut and just letting things happen. And here I'm just starting to add in some neutral gray, and I'm doing some painting some graphic lines. I'm going right off the page with them. What I did was I added some neutral gray, a little more matte medium for flow. I added some white, black, and gray on my palette. I was going to keep it very simple as far as the colors I was going to add. And my plan was to do just some graphic lines over the top of this very colorful background to tie it into the dark values of the graphic painting that was in the background. So that's what I'm doing here. This is one way this painting could go. I mean, I certainly could come in and paint out big areas of this, or do it in one of a million different ways, but this is the way I decided to go with this particular painting. And yeah, I was pretty happy with the way it came out, but yeah, I'm just kind of following my instincts here and just letting it play out. Now, you want to be able to read these in every direction, so it should really work in every direction. And then you can kind of choose the orientation you like the best after you've kind of worked on it a while. I mean, this could be done here. I could dry it and go in more with marker or paint or Neocolor, Stabilo pencil or Stabilo woody. There's so many options. It's even better if you can use old drawings, old paintings, prints, and things that you've created yourself, because then it truly is more your own piece. But it's just a very relaxing process and really fun to do, because it gives you an opportunity to explore composition and color and in such a way that you can rearrange things so easily in the initial stages of it, rather than laying down paint and having to wait for it to dry or doing a whole bunch of sketches. Collage is one of those mediums that's just really tactile and interesting, and you can rearrange things quickly, and it's just really easy to do, and that's what I love about it. Now, I'm going to show you another way that I start these little abstracts. In this one, I have another little pile of collage. These are all from the same big page out of a vintage 60s Life magazine. And it was a crowd of people in a third world country. And I found the photograph really intriguing, black and white image. And so I'm going to be putting them right down on my piece. Sometimes I like to have an uneven number, so I'm going to start with 3 shapes, okay? So 3 shapes is what I'm starting with. I like an odd number. So in art, we usually like to start, we like to have odd numbers of things. So 3, 5, 7, 9. It's just more interesting to our eye than even numbers. I don't know why it's kind of a rule of art. I don't really know why that is, but it's been that way. I guess it creates a tension or a dynamic tension. So that's just something that's kind of an unwritten rule. I mean, sometimes we talk about it. We don't talk about it a lot. It's just like something you do. I remember it being talked about, but I don't really think about it all that much. But I'm mentioning it because I think that sometimes people forget to tell people that are just starting out that that's kind of a thing. So, and also things are very often put off center intentionally. I think I decided in this case I was going to use 5 things. So I'm going to put 5 pieces of collage down. This particular way of starting a piece of work, I use a lot more drawing and a lot more painting with right in with acrylic. So I'm going to be using acrylic paint, Neocolor crayon. Sometimes I use like artist marker, but honestly, when I want to get in there with wet medium and not have to worry about markers, I go in with Neocolor, just because the Neocolor crayon can go right over the wet medium and it's not going to bother it, whereas you will destroy markers if you get any kind of a damp surface near them. Now I'm using the squeegee again just because it gets all those air bubbles out, and because I have matte medium, once I squeegee it, it's almost dry. It doesn't really matter though, because acrylic paint is the same composition, pretty much the same exact thing as the matte medium, except it doesn't have pigment. So here I'm using Neocolor 1, which is not water soluble, but you could use either. I have both. I love and use both of those products. I sometimes really love Neo 1s because they don't move. I mean, people really like the water soluble ones, but sometimes I really like these because they don't smudge as much. But they're both wonderful products, and I use both of them a lot and really love both of them. I like how rich they are, and so here I'm just going to draw, I'm putting in marks that go off the page in every direction, and it's up to you if you want graphic lines, if you want curvy lines, if you want organic marks, if you want linear marks. It's just, this is all you. So, we're going to just draw an abstract drawing in any, go in every direction. Any of this can be covered with paint. It doesn't matter. This is just a jumping off point, and you want to keep turning your paper because your drawing, your piece of art should work in every direction, and you don't want to leave loose ends. So you really want to think about going off the paper on each side if you can possibly do that, and try things. So I just want to talk about what I've done here. I like my work to have kind of a cohesive look, so I've got my color wheel here, and what I want to just show you is that I've chosen, and I've already got my paint colors kind of squashed out here, and what I've chosen here is an analogous palette. So I have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors in a row. So I'm going from yellow through the greens, so yellow, green, green, blue, and blue. So 5 colors in a row on my color wheel. And then I've included a neutral gray and white on my palette. So I'm going to use those colors because those colors will give me a harmonious look. So no matter which ones of those I put together on here, those are going to go nicely together, and I don't have to worry about anything clashing. Now, once we're here, we're just going to get in, we're going to paint. I'm going to really explore some of these different colors, and I don't feel like I need to fill in every one of those lines that I made. If I want to fill in, other shapes or create new shapes out of the lines that are already there, that's what I do. And if I want to make some of these colors more opaque by adding white, or mix some of these colors together, I do that. And I just kind of move my way around the painting. If I wanted to go over the collage a little bit and have it come through, I create a glaze using the matte medium. So the matte medium is wonderful for making glazes. So you can add just a little bit of your acrylic paint and mix in more than 30% of the matte medium, and it will create a glaze, which is a semi-transparent version of the acrylic paint. And you can get really lovely transparent glazes of color. So you can use those in your paintings to intensify an area, or you can use it to create a transparent glaze. Like in this case, if we want part of the picture to come through, but not to be slightly veiled or something, you can do that, and it comes out really interesting. So I did that in several places on this, and I really love the effect of it. So again, we're just playing and exploring, and I'm thinking of this more as a process of making rather than worrying about the end result of this. This doesn't have to be a masterpiece. This is just an exploration, a study. I ended up adding additional pieces of collage at the end and then making some glazes to go over them. I think I added a couple more faces. Then I lifted out some of the glaze so that we could see those faces. And I really ended up loving the result at the end. You can definitely see how once the painting is dry, how you can still see the images in the collage, but those glazes really incorporate them into the painting itself. And you can still see the faces, they're really intriguing, popping through the paint colors. I did blow dry it, so now I feel like I can come in with the marker and add a little bit of depth to some of the areas and things like that. But be very careful when you're working with wet medium and markers, because you will ruin them if they are not completely dry. So I did end up adding just a few more colors and a little more mark making right at the very end. I added some pink, which I always love with the dark gold, and the green complementary color. And I had a really great time. Please let me know in the comments section if you do any of these prompts, because I'd love to hear how you made out. Please come again soon, and please like, share, and subscribe to my channel, as it does help the channel grow, and I do appreciate it so much.